set. Okay, good morning, everyone. Today's Monday, April 12th, 2021. Time is 11:01 a.m. We're meeting for our weekly Commissioner Status Update. Attending Commissioners Duncan, Brooks, and Filios. Do we have any changes to the agenda?
I wouldn't say it's a change, but I'd like to handle some things out of order. I'd like to handle number 3 after public comment.
Fair enough. I'm good with that. Okay, makes sense. All right, then. So then why don't we move on to item number 1, Intergovernmental Cooperative Purchasing Agreements discussion. I'm indicated for this, but this came about as a result of a conversation I had with our assessor, Bela Kovacs, and Bela wants to talk about some potential purchasing agreements and the ability to piggyback, if I'm not mistaken. So, Bela, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Commissioners. There's really, in this particular case, there's a contract need that I have. And I don't want to go into the details. My purpose here is not to go into the details of that particular need, but that need opened up my eyes to perhaps what might be a process that I believe this county could possibly benefit from, and that is the Intergovernmental Cooperative Purchasing Agreements. In this particular case, I have a contract that I need to enter into. At this point, I'm not sure that there's enough time to do the competitive bidding. I am aware that another governmental entity has done a competitive bid. My understanding that is if and when this board deems it appropriate to enter into an intergovernmental cooperative agreement, there still is a responsibility on the part of the department and this county to ensure that that contract that they want to use has in fact met the competitive bidding requirements of this county. So I'm just here to talk about the concept of creating one. If the board is comfortable with that, I could bring one particular intergovernmental contract forward to the board for the board's review, and if the board agrees, then the board could approve it. Subsequently to that, I would want to then follow up and then bring separately to the board a particular contract that I'd like to use. And so really, it's just a general concept discussion is what I hope to engage in here to see if the board is even open to that process. I do believe that that process would be beneficial to this county in some instances. So.
Okay, so if I understand you correctly, if another jurisdiction has gone out and, let's say, undertaken a competitive bid and made a decision, you want to be able to potentially proceed with a contract with that organization? Or
That's correct, and I can be a little bit more specific. In this case, it's obviously Spokane County is the entity that's close to us. They're in the near proximity of where we're located. In many cases, the same vendors that they do business with are vendors that we could do business with.
Okay.
I am aware that there's a contract that's been competed. Typically, the other jurisdictions, when they do compete a contract, they will contain language in that essentially states that when that bid is done and when it's awarded, it can be offered to other jurisdictions. It is up to that vendor to either agree to or not agree to extend their pricing. And so, of course, a lot of this depends on whether or not the vendor would be willing to then, in fact, extend their prices and their services to the other jurisdiction.
Okay. And have you obviously run this by legal?
I did explore the concept with Dave. He mentioned to me that it would be something that I should present at least the concept to this board in the business status meeting, which is why I'm here today.
Dina?
Yes.
Yeah.
You have to be on a microphone. Sorry.
So it sounds like the concept of piggybacking, and I know that the Sheriff's Office uses it all the time, but I don't know if it has to be an Idaho entity in order for us to use it that way.
Not to put you on the spot, Pat.
Yeah, not necessarily. In fact,
Thank you, Dina.
the law was changed recently to expressly broaden the ability to do that kind of piggybacking. So we have actually piggybacked from multi-jurisdictional organizations that represent.
Hey, guys on the line, can you mute yourself till we're ready for you? Thank you.
Anyway, we've purchased items through multi-jurisdictional purchasing organizations that are not necessarily Idaho-based and
Okay,
can include jurisdictions from around the country, including Idaho, so.
okay.
If it saves us time or money, then I'm definitely
yeah.
interested.
So I think you're fine.
Okay, I will then move to bring before the board an intergovernmental agreement, in which case, this is going to help me with a specific need.
Yeah,
that I
this
have.
one's, okay, I was just gonna say, this is a specific one for a specific purpose.
So there'll be two steps. I'll bring back, and of course, legal counsel will review it.
Uh-huh.
I'll bring back the intergovernmental cooperative agreement as the first step. The second step will be a specific contract, but it's going to be rather compressed in time frame because I have a
works.
specific need and I'm up against a deadline.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Thanks, Baylor. Okay. Moving on to number 2, Snowmobile Ordinance number 565, discussion. Leslie?
Yeah, so last week we had it in our business meeting packet, so I actually did not provide copies this morning. There's one change that I'd like to make, and we have Sergeant Klinkovich and Nick Snyder on the phone to speak to this issue. Just transferring some language and updating some language. I also noticed that the way our ordinance is, it kind of, in conflict is the wrong word, but what it asks for it to be a misdemeanor to operate a snowmobile or OHV on any groomed trail within the county without having paid the groomer fee prescribed in this chapter, or a fee entitling to reciprocal privileges. So I would rather have that as an infraction because state law, failure to register your snowmobile, failure to register your vehicle, all these things are infractions. So I think for the county to require this to be a misdemeanor when the state law requires all these other registrations to be infractions, I just wanted to make that one change just to make it more, I don't know, coincide with state law.
Where's Nick on this? Is he okay?
Yeah. So Nick,
I'm
do
sorry.
you want to chime in here?
Yes, Commissioners, Nick Snyder for the record. I'm going to defer to Sergeant Klinkovich for the details and why there may or may not be any issues, but certainly it would be best to have more of a punitive or less of a punitive approach on this. It's in my opinion, if I'm understanding this and reading this correctly, we're talking about a crime to not have the local groomer sticker. It seems fairly harsh in comparison to, say, a Parks and Waterways infraction, though it is a civil infraction at Parks and Waterways where it's really about compliance. We're trying to just ensure that folks are paying their fair share, if you will.
Okay, all right.
It does, yeah, and so, again, Sergeant Klinkovich can speak to in more detail, but I do think it is somewhat harsh in comparison with some of our other statutes.
Okay. Sergeant Klinkovich, Will, go right ahead.
Yes, sir. Yeah, the Sheriff's Office does not have any issue with changing that language at all. Obviously, it's the discretion of the county commissioners, and historically it's been a misdemeanor for many, as long as I can remember, but changing it to an infraction, the Sheriff's Office does not have any issue with that.
Okay. Typically, what is the penalty, for lack of a better term, for an infraction? Is it financial? Is it a fine? Is that what we're saying?
It's a fine.
Generally, it's a fine. It's a civil penalty is
Okay.
what an infraction means, yes.
Yep.
No jail time. It's not an arrestable offense. It's just a civil penalty of some sort,
Okay.
monetary penalty.
Have we established what that is? Do we know? Or does the state determine that?
So the state, yeah, there's a $156 fine when you're operating without registration. So but that's a vehicle registration. So I didn't dig further in to see what the snowmobile fine was. I know they do
I
have
can
one.
tell you in just a minute.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Can't imagine it be as high.
And I guess I was trying to make sure we're not overburdening the
Yep,
court
yep.
system and, just kind of keep like that. Now, I will point this out, what will remain a misdemeanor in this ordinance is to operate any vehicle other than a snowmobile or off-highway vehicle with the exception of duly authorized emergency and or maintenance vehicles upon a groomed trail in the county. The last thing we want to do is have somebody come up there with their 4x4 truck, see how far
Okay,
they can get up
okay.
the trail. It's dangerous for the groomers, for the snowmobile people, for all that. So in my mind, that still warrants a misdemeanor.
Okay, so that should remain a misdemeanor? you're
Yes,
saying?
yep. And Jamila is prepared to make the changes when we,
Okay. Yeah, I
you
was
know.
just gonna say Jamila's been a lead attorney on that, so.
Okay.
The fine, the maximum infraction fine under our code is $100.
100?
Yes.
okay.
Thank you. Okay. Bill, thoughts?
No, cleaning things up. I'm all for
You're
that.
fine? I'm good.
Thank you.
So that's it.
All right.
So we have direction?
Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Will. I'll get in touch with Jamila.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Okay, so
Thank you.
let's move on to the pending items, status review. County form of government. Okay. County form of government study committee, Bill?
They've got their first meeting tomorrow night here at 5:30.
Okay. And that's the ad hoc committee.
That's the ad hoc committee.
Okay. Tomorrow night, that's Tuesday evening at 5:30. Okay. Facilities expansion, Leslie?
Yep, tomorrow is the next meeting from 9 to 12. All of our stakeholders will be looking at the next stage in their layout floor plans. And so that's where we're going from there.
Is, in this meeting, will you be addressing, or will there be, is Kootenai North, is Kootenai North going to come into this?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. No, this is strictly just the
Building.
$18 million floor plan. And then once they get us the full study, the long-range study back to us, and once the legislature recesses for the year, then
When will they, by the way? Are they still at it?
they are. I'm hoping this is the last week.
Okay.
I was going to make a phone call this afternoon.
Okay, Pack Airport lease.
Yep, still in negotiations between Stephen and Wally.
Okay. 1A, 1B, audio upgrade, that's the audio upgrade for this room. That is to commence the beginning of May. On the outside, I think it's going to take about 2 weeks. So there might be some disruption in our capability over that period of time. But once completed, it should be fairly state-of-the-art, and everybody will be audible, and the internet will be fully active, and anything else. Nancy, did you want to add anything, or no? We're good? Okay. So that begins early May. Financial snapshot, Dina, we did that last week, I believe. Thank you. Ballot bond language, Leslie?
Both on hold, the ballot bond language and the building financing on hold until legislature recesses.
Pending legislature. That's going to have an impact, okay. Building financing, one and the same,
Yep.
along with the ballot language?
Yes.
Okay, so that's on hold as well. State of the county address, we each know what we're doing?
Yep.
Okay.
And I'll have some slideshow information to the Nancy's before the end of this week.
Okay, and I'll have something to Nancy Pluff by close of business on Wednesday, Friday. Okay,
Then I'll do Thursday.
okay, good enough, guys. All right, so that's it. All right then, so let's move on to public comment before we go into exec. The reason we're doing this is if we're going to go into exec and ask you to wait outside only to come back in again, we might as well just get it wrapped up so we can. So is there any public comment?
Dan? Well, okay.
Hearing none.
All right.
It's 11:15.
So I move that we enter into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 74206-1F.
I second the motion.
No,
No.
no.
is now 11:25. We're about to exit, well, time is 11:25. We're about to exit executive session. Is there a motion?
I move we exit executive session with staff to proceed as discussed.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan.
Aye.
Chairman Philios.
Aye, and the motion is carried. Time is still 11:25. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.